To order. I would ask everyone to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Pastor Sherry Cothran Woolsey of the West Nashville United Methodist Church, and she is the guest of Council Member Holloman.
Let us pray. Dear God, we gather here this evening, often divided due to opinions, claims of our separate constituencies and political affiliations, but still, we're here together. We are many, but we are also one. And we know that you are a God of unity and of peace. However, sometimes our interactions speak more to our factionalization than to the hope of unity and the shared well-being that promises our life together. When all sides have finally been examined and all positions argued, God, we know that your love, your compassion, and your grace are the forces that knit us back together as a community. Indeed, we've seen in recent months in this city, it is this love that is the most powerful force in the universe, overcoming the chaos that seeks to undo us. So this evening, Creator God, we ask that you shine on our hope, to renew our commitments to our shared life. Remind us that our collective problems are not so great as our mutual faith in communal action and a life that is bigger than us. Inspire us here this evening. Remind us that we are engaged in something greater than projects and process. Let these proceedings remind us that you've blessed us with fellow travelers. We are grateful for our life together, and that we are finally not alone. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of our minutes from August 17th? With no objection, the meeting minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, ma'am, there are not.
Thank you. First on our agenda this evening, we need to elect President Pro Tem. It is a one-year term ending August 31st in 2011. Are there any nominations? Councilman Holloman.
I rise to nominate Walter Hunt.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I declare the nominations closed. Is there a motion to elect him by acclamation, Councilman? Okay. Councilman Hunt, congratulations. Even though it was by acclamation, we do need a vote. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You're still elected, so. Just wanted to announce that we still have a vacancy on the Community Education Commission. The deadline for submitting those will be September the 14th at 4 p.m. Is there a report from the Rules Committee?
Need what? For what?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. A little rusty being chairman. Our first, the rules and confirmations considered for the Airport Authority, the appointment of Debbie Wright, and the committee voted 8-4, none against, and I move her approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Next, the committee considered Human Relations Commission, appointment of Nimish Patel. The committee voted 9-4, none against, and I move for his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Next was the Property Standards and Appeals Board for the appointment of Bobby Boner, and the committee voted 9-4, none against, and I move for his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Next, also for the Property Standards Appeals Board, the reappointment of Nicole Dunnigan, and the committee voted 9-4, none against, and I move her approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The next was the Tourism and Convention Center Commission, the reappointment of Amy Atkinson, and the committee voted 9-4, none against, and I move for her approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
And that concluded the business of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. When I call your name, please stand. Debbie Wright, Namish Patel, Bobby Boner, Nicole Dunnigan, and Amy Atkinson. On behalf of the Metro Council, I want to thank you for your willingness to serve and to donate your time and your expertise to our city. Thank you very much. Tonight is our public hearing night. The first one is BL 2010-674, amends 107.87 acres of an existing Green Hills Urban Design Overlay District, classified SCR along Hillsborough Pike, Hillsborough Drive, Hillsborough Circle, Hobbs Road, Warfield Drive, Richard Jones Road, Bandywood Drive, and Abbott Martin Road. Councilman McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would move to defer to the January public hearing.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-725 amends the Metro Code to provide a waiver of the zoning application fee for members of the council requesting the rezoning of 10 or more parcels from a specific planned district to another base zoning district. Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing.
Okay. Could I have a show of hands of those in support? Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Holland.
Move approval with a question for Mr. Cooper. John, if you could, please explain the situations where that fee does not apply and why it would apply in this case.
Currently, the fee for rezoning property that's paid to the Planning Commission can be waived in certain instances for bills initiated by council members. That is, if you are downzoning a property from a commercial to a residential district, or doing a mass area downzoning from one residential district to a lesser intensive residential district, like an R to RS, or to apply a historic overlay or a design overlay. This would add another subsection to allow the waiver for the rezoning of 10 or more parcels by a council member from an SP district to any other base zoning district.
And I also want to let the members of council know this did not in any way benefit me because I filed a bill where this was applicable and paid the fee. And with that explanation, I renew my motion.
Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I know this was done back in the prior council, which allowed council members to introduce zoning ordinances and waive the fee. It was done by previous council, if I understand, and it never had been done before in the previous years. I just caution council members about doing that. Perception-wise, it can be extremely difficult, and I understand the circumstances. I would probably not have voted for the one that the council passed that allowed what allows it today. I'd just be very cautious if what it looks like to individuals that you sponsor your own self. Others in here, we've had that conversation before. So just be cautious about it and be aware of it.
All in favor of 725, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2010-736, amends 27.41 acres of the Gallatin Pike Improvement District specific plan for properties located along Main Street, Gallatin Pike, Gallatin Avenue, and by replacing the mixed-use land use category of the Gallatin Pike SP. Councilman Holland.
Move to open the public hearing.
Could Could I have a show of hands of those in support? Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Please come to the lectern and state your name and address.
Hi there. My name is Wes All. I live on the first block of McFerrin Avenue, very close to Main Street. All of you all know East Nashville well. It's been a great area. There's been a lot of changes recently, but we're just hoping to kind of I'd like to see, as someone that lives close to Main Street, some improvement in terms of the businesses that are on the street. There's a lot of those buildings that don't have any use right now, and I know that this would enable business people or entrepreneurs to do that. So I just wanted to come up and voice my support.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Holland.
Need to move the substitute, and if I could get an explanation of that substitute from planning.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. Mr. Bernhardt? Oh. Well, hang on.
The substitute adds the potential for certain boarding facilities, animal boarding facilities, as a special exception subject to certain conditions, the same conditions that are in other districts. It allows them to go through that process in the area that's being affected.
Mr. Bernhardt, if I could ask you one more question, because there's been a lot of action about a particular property. That property would not fit the current requirements, correct?
It would not fit the requirements in this order. If the substitute order is passed, it would not fit those requirements. It would require a public hearing and a modification by the Planning Commission, which is an option, but it would require a public hearing to go in.
I just want to let those watching know there'll be a community meeting, a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission, and a public hearing in front of this body. With that, I renew my motion to move the substitute.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman Holland.
Vice Mayor, I move as substituted.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I do rise in support of the underlying change. There were several constituents who had contacted me following some active listserv discussion about a particular business in question at the time, involving a doggy daycare, and I had advised all of them correctly at the time, up until a few hours ago, that this bill had no relationship to that. The substitute changes that, obviously, and I just wanted to point out to those that I've spoken to in the last, and probably Council Members Cole and Council Lady Bennett have spoken to in the last week, that when we assured them this bill had nothing to do with the doggy daycare situation, that was true at the time. It's not true as of, I guess, about an hour ago. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of 736, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Without objection, we'll take BL 2010, 737, and 738 together. BL 2010-737 cancels 12.07 acres of the Parmley Commercial Plan Unit Development District Overlay Zone SCN and proposed for RS10 zoning at 3705 Whites Creek Pike. BL 2010-738 changes 38.39 acres from SCN, RS15, and RS20 to RS10 zoning for property located at 3705 Whites Creek Pike. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Ms. President. Would you please open the public hearing, please?
Could I have a show of hands of those in support? Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hunt.
Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-740 makes provisions of a neighborhood landmark district to .46 acres of property zoned R8 located at 400 and 404 Wisteria Lane. Councilmember Stanley.
Proceed with public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Stanley.
I move approval with a couple of brief comments.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Stanley.
I want to let everyone understand that this is a 1940s house. It was built in 1940. It will maintain the base residential zoning, this neighborhood landmark overlay will, and will also provide a buffer between the residential uses along Central Pike and also the commercial uses along Central Pike, and it will have a minimal impact, if anything, on the development of Central Pike, because it's going to have the business that's going to be operating out of that home will have a minimal impact as well. And I will let everyone know that back in 2001, I got a neighborhood landmark overlay in cooperation with the planning department and with Judge Randy Kennedy. We got a neighborhood landmark overlay on a piece of property at 3052 Lebanon Pike. It was a house that was built in 1932, and it's enhanced the value of the neighboring homes as well as enhance the community, the value of the community. And I'm very appreciative of everyone being willing to listen, and I'm very appreciative of this neighborhood landmark overlay being a part of the Metropolitan Zoning Code. So I move approval at this time.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of 740, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-741 changes 32.15 acres from AR2A and CL to SP zoning for properties located at 5000, 5010, and 5012 Clarksville Pike to permit resident, commercial, retail, and office use. Councilman Hunt.
Thank you. May we open the public hearing, please?
Please raise your hand if you're in support of this. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Madam President, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-742 changes .17 acres from OR20 to SP zoning for property located at 4101 Hillsborough Circle to permit general retail, convenience retail, and all uses permitted by OR20. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd move to withdraw with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second.
Thank you, members of council. There are just some concerns about this proposed use on this specific piece of property. The Planning Commission disapproved this, and so I would ask you kindly for your support of my motion of withdrawal. Thank you.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to withdraw, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2010-743. Changes 1.13 acres from R10 to ON zoning for properties located at 3200 Knight Drive. Councilman Hunt.
Thank you, Madam President. Can I open the public hearing, please?
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hunt.
Then thank you, and I'll move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-744 changes 36.2 acres from SP to AR2A zoning for property located at 7874 Macquarie Lane. Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes, I'd like to move to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Mitchell.
Yeah, I'd like to just have a brief moment to explain where this came from. This is some
move to
approve.
Have a second, Councilman.
Yes, about 3 weeks after the flood, Mr. Jones, the owner of this property, called me, and he lives along the Harpeth River, and this land is adjacent to another piece of property that developers several years back tried to develop around a old rock quarry. They wanted to put in a landfill and fill it in and put townhomes on top of a landfill, just what everybody wants. But as this was happening, this gentleman's land was adjacent to that rock quarry at the property. So he wanted, he couldn't fall by the wayside. He had to get his zoned where he could have his developed as that piece of property was developed. Well, after the flood, he saw the, several feet of water that came up on that property. If there were homes on that land, they would have been under 4 to 8 feet of water, those homes. So he called me and said he couldn't in good conscience go to his grave knowing that houses and families could live on this piece of property in the future, and he and be responsible for those people's homes being destroyed and those people's lives being destroyed. So he asked me, he said he was going to, wanted to check about rezoning on that. And, I'll be, for full disclosure, yes, I applied as the council member to Downs on this piece of property, so there was no application fee or anything, but I was happy to do that. And that being said, this gentleman's probably cost himself a large sum of money by doing the right thing, ladies and gentlemen. But, I'm glad that he's a neighbor of mine. I'm glad that, we have people in Nashville, Tennessee like this gentleman, Mr. Jones, and I hope we have more Mr. Jones in Davidson County that will follow suit in the future, because he's, putting aside a large amount of money to do the right thing. And with that being said, I ask for your approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-745 amends the Metro Code to allow recreation centers as a special exception use in the AG and AR2A zoning districts. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Dominy.
I move approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember.
We as a city desire our residents to be healthy, and this is to make it easier for those organizations who want to create recreational facilities. In particular, in my district, there's a nonprofit foundation that wants to create some ball fields for the young students to have a place to play, and with this will streamline that process for them rather than making it more difficult and adding an additional hurdle. And I move approval.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-746 amends the Metro Code to require that a resident of the dwelling on which a residential amateur radio antenna is located possess a current valid FCC license. Councilmember Page.
Yes, ma'am. I need to defer this until the November public hearing.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The deferral passes. We're now at the resolutions on the consent agenda. Councilmember Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules and Confirmations Committee met and approved all items on the consent agenda, 9-4, none against. I move approval of the consent agenda.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilmember Holland. You wanted to be recognized for RS 2010-1349, a resolution providing amendments to the Charter of the Metropolitan Government in accordance with Article 19, Section 1901, and setting forth a brief description of each amendment to be placed on the ballot. Councilmember Holland.
Move to suspend the rules for the purpose of withdrawing that charter amendment that was not considered by the commission or this council.
Seeing See no objection to a suspension of the rules.
Move to withdraw.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the withdrawal motion, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Resolution RS 2010-1360 approves the election of certain notaries public for Davidson County. Councilmember Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Sorry, Vice Mayor. Committee report was 9-4-0 against.
And I've also been advised we have an amendment.
Oh, yes. Gosh, I'm messing up tonight. I move the amendment.
You haven't been sleeping much.
I have not been sleeping much.
Is the
About
amendment
3
in the
weeks ago,
packet?
yeah.
Okay, the amendment is in your packet. Councilman, would you like to move the amendment?
I move the amendment.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Opposed? Amendment passes. Council member?
I move as amended.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. I think we're all going to offer babysitting services so you can get a good night's sleep. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move the substitute housekeeping amendment.
You wanted to pull BL 2010-756?
Yes.
Authorizes the acquisition of property by negotiation or condemnation at the 28th 31st Avenue Connector. Councilmember Langster.
Yes, Vice Mayor, if I could explain, I would like for the substitute to read south of the railroad track so that everyone would know in the 21st District, the construction of the 28th Avenue Connector would not begin until it is south of the railroad track. Nothing inside that portion of the 21st District will be touched.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the substitute. Councilman Stanley, you wish to speak on? Okay. All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilmember Langster.
I move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now back on all other bills on introduction and first reading. Is there a motion? Sorry, Councilman Stanley.
I would like to defer Bill 2010-754 with a couple of brief comments.
BL 2010-754 is an ordinance amending Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code zoning regulations by amending Section 1716-250 pertaining to cosmetology and barbershops as a home occupation accessory use in residential districts, all of which is particularly described therein. Councilmember Stanley.
I would just like to defer this until the second meeting in October because I'm going to be working with Mr. Cooper. This amendment I'm going to make to this ordinance would specifically restrict these operations to single-chair salons that would be operated by resident title holders, and that would prohibit rental properties from having any type of residential rental properties from having any type of salon operating in them whatsoever. And I've already spoken with the Codes Administration, and they see a benefit in that. And of course, this bill is going to have a benefit in general for the Metropolitan Code. So I would ask that it be deferred. Thank you.
Indefinite deferral?
No, to the second meeting in October.
Second meeting. We have a motion and a second for deferral to the second meeting in October. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Deferral motion passes. Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes, I would like to indefinitely defer BL 2009-411.
BEL 2009-411 amends ordinance BEL 2005-543 to modify a condition pertaining to the restriction of access to Moss Road for property located at Highway 100 unnumbered, approximately 775 feet south of Collins Road, 6.03 acres. Councilmember Mitchell.
Move to defer indefinitely.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of indefinite deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion for approval of all other bills on introduction? And a second. All in favor, please say aye. Is there a motion to adjourn our second council meeting of the day? We are adjourned. Thank you. Same to you.